I had a commonplace book before I even really knew what commonplacing was. It was just this journal where in between my regular narrative entries, I would jot down song lyrics, excerpts from books and poems, quotes from movies, and there was no system or structure. It was just a way for me to capture those thoughts and ideas that stuck with me or resonated with me. Over time, without realizing it, I had built up a personal archive of wisdom and insights. A commonplace book is a place where you collect, as I was doing, those thoughts and observations and ideas from different sources to reference later or for inspiration. Now, historically, commonplace books have been used by philosophers, writers, and scientists to document their learnings and their own inspiration. Today, I think they're still very relevant, and I want to share with you why I think everyone should have their own commonplace book. Now, why is this so useful? The first point I think is that a commonplace book is a very underrated productivity tool. If you're somebody who consumes a lot of content or media, whether it's books, articles, movies, TV shows, podcasts, more often than not, there are lots of interesting ideas that you come across that you end up just passively taking in or trying to store in the chaos of your brain or in your bookmarks folder, and inevitably they get lost. With a commonplace book, you can pull those thoughts and ideas out of that chaos into one place and have a permanent home for them. Secondly, commonplace books, as I mentioned before, are really useful in terms of providing inspiration and creative fuel. Every now and then I'll flip through the pages of mine if I need to be inspired, if I'm looking for, let's say, ideas for upcoming videos. And what's interesting is that when you go back to them, when you go through them and you read through them, it's not just about resurfacing those quotes and thoughts. It's also about making connections between them. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that I wanted to make a video on the topic of love. I have read All About Love by Bell Hooks, so there are a number of quotes from there that I have saved. I've also seen an interview with Alain Badiou on love. I've also watched a countless number of movies where love is sort of the central theme. And so what I have now is a rich collection, a rich tapestry of voices and perspectives on the topic of love that has not only taught me a lot, but that can also make my own creative work a lot more nuanced, a lot more interesting, and have a lot more depth. With physical commonplacing, you're doing a lot of handwriting, and you'll know that there are lots of studies that show that handwriting activates different parts of the brain than typing does. When you write something in your commonplace book, you're not just saving it, you're internalizing it, because writing by hand actually helps the brain to process information a lot more deeply. Even the act of choosing what to save in your commonplace book is helping you to build that skill of personal curation, which I think gets lost a lot today with these algorithms that sort of control what it is that we consume, what we're fed. So being able to, like I said, curate your own content and figure out what it is that really matters to you, what is meaningful to you, I think is very important. And finally, a commonplace book is a reflection of who you are. Everything that goes into that book, there's a reason for it, right? It's something that is meaningful to you. And so over time, it becomes kind of a mirror, right? You can look back and see how your interests and curiosities and opinions and beliefs have evolved and changed over time. So now that you know why it's so useful to have a commonplace book, you might be wondering, where and how do I get started? So I think the first thing you'll want to do is choose your medium. There is no one way to do commonplacing. I use a physical book. Maybe you want to use note cards. Maybe you want to do digital commonplacing. What I would say is do what works best for you and do what is going to be most sustainable for you in the long term, because the idea is that this is going to become a constant part of your life. So this is my commonplace book. This is a pocket moleskin. I decided to get this particular size because it's so easy to carry around with me. You never know when inspiration is going to strike. You never know when you're going to hear something interesting, see something interesting. And so that's why I like mine to be very compact and portable. I've also customized it a bit so that it feels a bit more personal to me. Now, if you decide to use a notebook like this, then of course you're going to want to have some kind of writing tool or writing instrument. Personally, with any kind of writing, my preference is to use gel pens or more recently fountain pens. My favorite gel pen is currently the Pentel Energel 0.7mm nib. I have the Pilot Kakuno, which I've really enjoyed using so far. And I also have the Lamy Safari, which is also another very popular pen in the fountain pen community. So why am I going on and on about stationery? Well, again, when you use tools that you actually enjoy, the habit of commonplacing becomes much more sustainable. And again, that's the point. When you have a pen that flows nicely, when you have paper that you enjoy the feel of, all of that really matters. Now, you're also going to want to think about what it is that you want to have in your commonplace book. I would say when you're first starting out, just begin with whatever it is that grabs your attention. And over time, you'll start to see patterns in what pops up and what kind of content you enjoy most. I would also say don't worry too much about structure. I think especially when you're first starting out, there are lots of resources online, lots of YouTube videos that touch on how you can properly organize your commonplace book. You can have an index in the front with page numbers corresponding to certain topics. Try not to feel too pressured by that. As you go along, you'll find that maybe you do want to organize it a bit more, and then you have the option to do that. And I think the other key to making a commonplace book a regular part of your life is, of course, to just have it with you, right? Take it with you where you have it on your bedside table, have it on your desk, take it out with you if you're going somewhere. So it's easier to capture inspiration when it strikes. And the more you return to it, the more it starts to feel like a creative companion. If this video has inspired you to start your own commonplace book, let me know. I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section. And if you're into journaling as a whole, then I'd recommend that you check out some of the other videos on my channel about journaling. I'm going to have one linked somewhere here on the screen for you. That's all for today. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.